You're now listening to In the Divide.
All right, welcome to another edition of In the Divide. We're here because we're talking to SliceSpace, Mory, Katan, and we're going to inform you on what you need to know about this newest platform. Mory, glad to see you.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, so let's get into it. We want to ask you why operate on Algorand?
So that's a good question, actually. We decided to operate on the Algorand blockchain as our back end, primarily because of how quick it is, how simple it is. The API is quite robust, making it that we can do basically what NASDAQ does with 100 coders, we can do with 5 of our coders. So it's a pretty robust platform. What we're able to do is transact USDC, right, which is basically US dollar, with the ability to move the decimal point over 6 denominations. So really gives us the flexibility to still transact US dollar, but in a way that, like today, in this day and age, if I wanted to send you US dollar, right, there's like a fee on it in transacting it. Even if I Venmoed it to you, there's a fee, right? So we're able to do it on a blockchain, on an Algorand blockchain, and do it basically for little to no money. Transacting, doing daily rent distributions, doing basically like the slicing up of the asset, if you will, are able to do that all through the blockchain.
Yeah, and people don't understand how that's important, especially doing what you're doing and doing it daily. That means your transaction costs you fractions of a penny also, which makes it practical where in a normal environment, traditional finance, that will be not attractive.
Correct. Yeah, that's very on point.
So speaking of your platform, how you on-ramp, what denominations, as far as you talked about fiat currency, are you using Algo, or how many ways or how many tokens are you going to be able to have to use the platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you will be able to onboard into SliceSpace using fiat or any other crypto of your choosing, but the denominations on SliceSpace are all in US dollar, right? So like your percentage of the property, your rent payout, everything like that is always denominated in dollars. So if somebody wants to come in with, let's say, Bitcoin and pay for slices in Bitcoin, they can. But the moment you deposit Bitcoin, it gets converted to US dollar.
Okay, well, that makes sense. It's it's very, I think, very clean that way, as far as taking a lot of complications out of the system and making it kind of easy for anyone to kind of use the space. So the current market we in, it's very fragile,
to say the least.
How is your platform? I think. How's going to work this? How do you think your platform will help or will be able to ride out this current market?
So I mean, that's kind of like an issue that's pegged more so in like what's wrong currently. I think a lot of different platforms are providing yield on something that isn't even real, right? Like if you're providing yield on coins, and we saw this like in early 2018, we saw it in years prior too, right? When people are creating what is now referred to as shitcoin, right? Like when people are providing yield on random things that don't even exist, eventually it's going to implode. But we kind of pegged our entire model on real estate, and real estate's real, right? You really pay rent. You really collect rent, right? It's all that. So I think once you take it back and like you're like, oh, you realize that the technology is actually what's really cool here, right? The ability to facilitate something that's real in a quicker, faster way, very cool. But I think what's happening in the crypto world right now, or in the blockchain world right now, is just that it's imploding in the sense of like whatever wasn't real is being brought to light, right? And you can't be promising yields of like 15-20% on what, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you have your real properties and you're actually getting rent return, that's a real yield you can discuss.
Yeah.
So that's free legitimacy.
I think that's a pretty novel thing since, ever since money, we had a gold standard since we got knocked off of that. Most people nowadays don't understand money backed by something.
Yeah.
I think that's where, crypto goes kind of awry, where we think we can make these things, and just because the crowd says that we memed it, it has value. And I think we're coming into understanding it has to have something as a use case of some kind of practical value behind it for it to be able to weather economic downturn. So I really think this is an excellent platform for this time, so it can stabilize a lot of people in crypto and people coming into crypto, because it's a very safe, very kind of traditional way to put your money behind. So,
yeah, but traditionally inaccessible too.
Yeah,
let's not forget that.
Very, very true. How are the properties chosen?
So we have a little bit of a two-sided. We have an ability for users to come in and kind of like state which properties are in their interest. But once properties are identified overall, we do a very good due diligence process, making sure that their reporting process is transparent. And once a property passes that due diligence, then they have the ability to be listed on the platform. So yeah, it's kind of like, our position is more so to make sure that as many properties as possible come onto the platform that are honest and transparent, to try and facilitate like a really good marketplace.
All right. Everyone, you're watching In the Divide. We're here with SliceSpace. I want you to go ahead and check out the part 2 of the interview on NifGen. We're trying to make NifGen the place to go for video, for blogging, for podcasts on the Algorand blockchain. Algo fam, tap in. Please join me over there. Thank you, thank you, thank you.